Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday morning meeting. Today, y'all know who this lady is.
Yes.
This is Mom. And
That's a good picture.
yeah, you like that picture? Yeah. Let me tell you a story. So, my mom has two sisters and a brother. And her brother, his name is Don. Don lived up in Denton, and he just moved over toward the Wiley, Farmersville, that area over there in Lavon. He wanted to move to get closer to the grandkids. And he was having a real chore finding a house because of the market. From what I understand, they would go see a house that had just been put on the market, and there'd be 50 people there the day that it's put on the market, and then they would get 25 offers on the house the same day, many of them cash, many of them above the asking price, and then the houses were in disrepair. I mean, there, nothing to really, be great about. And so he was having a real chore. And my mom had a connection with a lady. Many of y'all know she's involved with Coventry. They over in St. Paul. And she knew a lady over there who was selling a house, her house, and it was on like an acre and a half of land, and it was where in the area that Don wanted. And so it all worked out, and he was able to purchase that house without it going on the market, and it was beyond what he was hoping for. He was really excited about it. And so my mom coordinated some furniture for him, and then also coordinated a mover. So my mom, she doesn't move, right? She stays at home. She doesn't stay at home. She does things, but there's no need for her to have a relationship with a mover. We don't have a relationship. I don't have a mover right now. I can just call a moving company, but she does. She has a relationship with a moving company because of what she does, and so she calls the mover. And the mover says, he said, I'm booked for the month of April. He said, I don't think I can get you. He said, by chance, what day do you want to try to move? And she's coordinating my uncle, Don, his move. And she gives a date, and the mover says, oh man, you must have been looking at my calendar because that's the only slot I had. And so it all worked out, and then she was able to get him moved from Denton to the house. So then, this was just a few days ago now, my Uncle Don was standing in the house that he just purchased, talking to Barry. And Don was saying how incredible this was, that he was just amazed that after going through all the hard stuff that he went through, trying to find this house and nothing would work, and then all of a sudden this house becomes available. He's able to get it before it goes on the market. The movers, everything just fell into place. And my dad said to my uncle, do you know why this has happened for you? Do you know why all this stuff has taken place? And my mom was walking by, and my dad pointed at her, and he said, it's because of her. It's because of the favor that she has, and because of really, he didn't use this word, but this is what this is about today. It's because of her calling. And so that's what we're going to talk about, is calling. So what is calling? Calling is a strong urge toward a particular way of life. Another way to think of calling, another word, is mission. Mission is an important assignment. But the way you think of, so mission is to go accomplish something in a particular place, like the military going on a mission. But really, a calling is like a life mission. Okay, it's an assignment you have throughout your life to do a particular thing. So calling is something that everyone on the planet has. And it's all different. It's different from gifting, okay? But it is something that you have, and I put it in a box like this because we have to open it and unpack it and find out things about our calling. It takes time. You know, just recently, within the last couple of years, I have found more out about my own personal calling. It takes time. I've known aspects of my calling for a long time, but then there's other things that just keep unpacking and I keep learning, okay, about my own calling. So there's three groups of people related to calling. There's those who never engage or embrace their calling. They have a calling, but they're oblivious to it and they don't ever engage it. So you can live life, your whole life, and not actually step into what your calling is. And then there's group two. And group two are those who they're oblivious to their calling. They don't really know that they have a calling. It's knowledge and understanding and these kinds of things. They don't have that. But they still work out some of their calling. Okay? They still participate with it, and certain aspects of their calling gets fulfilled. And then you have the third group, and the third group understands and has knowledge about their calling and walks it out. Okay, so they've got the whole package. So let me give you an analogy here. So I like to think of calling as something you put on. So we've got a guy here, he's got clothes on, right? And this guy is some sort of special forces paratrooper or something like that. So let's say that he is, let's look at him as the three groups. So group one is, you got a guy right here, he doesn't have any clothes on. He doesn't have any gear. He's falling through the air. Okay, that would be the guy that hasn't embraced his calling. He didn't put on any of his gear, and he's just going through life. Then you've got group two, who has the clothes, the uniform on, has the gear on, but the guy in group two, he doesn't understand what the goggles do and what this does and what this does, and so he doesn't understand. Somehow he's managed to get into his calling, but he doesn't have any understanding about it at all. And then you've got group three, which is the guy who is in his calling and he knows what every piece of gear does. And if you really think of it this way, you can think of gear as gifts. This is how gifts and calling go together. Okay, so not only is he wearing his calling and he understands it, but then he knows what all the gear does, okay, which is how to use his gifts with his calling. You see how that works? So why is calling important? Calling gives purpose to life. You've heard stories and you've read stories and you've seen news and this and that. Regardless of your status in society, regardless of your wealth, regardless of your fame, any of these things, it's your calling that gives purpose to life. You have people who are very wealthy who check out. You have people who have lots of fame. You have people who have no fame and they check out, right? It's because they have no purpose. They've encountered certain things. Maybe they've even made money because of gifting, okay? Because of some gift that they have, but they didn't actually fulfill their calling and walk in their calling. So calling provides self-worth, value, confidence. You know, you have a level of confidence when you understand. When you're falling through the air like that paratrooper and you've got your calling on and you know what all the gear does, it gives you a level of confidence, okay? Because you know what you encounter. Oh, I can use this piece of gear, I can do this, I can do that. I know what I'm supposed to do. When my boots hit the ground and I do this or that, I know what I'm supposed to do, right? So it provides these things. So there's a Scaramucci, and people call him Mooch. So I put Mooch on here so that you could remember this. We're not here. We're not on the planet to just to be a moocher and a consumer and take, right? We're here to walk out a calling. So how do I find my calling? Find a problem that you can solve. there's some sort of problem that your calling is the solution for, and that those problems are easier for you because of your special calling to accomplish than most people. So you're able to the solution goes with your calling, and it works out. And not only does it work out, but you get fulfillment out of it, right? You get the confidence and the self-worth and this and that because it's matched. It's fascinating how this works. And your calling always involves people. Everybody has a calling on the planet, and every calling involves people at some point. Maybe you're a scientist and you spend most of the time in the lab researching, and you contact throughout your life, you don't hardly ever come into contact with many people at all. Well, it still involves people because you're doing all that research and you're providing something that's, benefiting something if it's your calling. So you don't have to know lots of people, or you don't have to do things that involve a lot of people to fulfill your calling. So let's go back to Gina here for a second. Her calling is the health and well-being of people. I mean, without a doubt. Okay? And she knows it. She knows what her calling is. And she uses her gifts to walk this out. She has immense favor. She gets whatever she asked for. And most of the time, she is asking for things on other people's behalf for their health and well-being. She takes care of people who might have dementia or Alzheimer's or special needs people. She takes care of people who can't say thank you and don't even know they need help. And then she takes care of people like her brother, and has this ability to coordinate. This is related to the well-being part. Coordinate furniture or decorate a house or a space that somebody lives in, or maybe they need a new bed and she knows where one's at and she works that out, and she has this gift and ability to move these things around and do this kind of stuff. And it used to drive my dad crazy because she'd be carrying stuff around everywhere in her car, stuff for people. But it's always been focused on the health and well-being of others. We get a little bit jacked up in Western culture, certainly America. So I put a picture of a footballer on here. But you think of somebody like a really good football player like Tom Brady. Okay? Tom Brady is a phenomenal quarterback. Yeah, he is good, right? Certainly a big part of his calling has been to be in the realm of sports entertainment, right? So he's walked that out. But I have been guilty of this. Sometimes when you're close to somebody who is walking in, somebody who's walking in a high level of calling and gifting and working those things out and doing these things, sometimes you miss because of your closeness or your relationship with people. You miss truly the gift and the call that they have and how special that is. And what the level with which she walks in favor and understanding about her calling and her gifts and these kinds of things, the level with which she walks this out in her life is as high or higher as Tom Brady is in football. Okay? And that can be true with many of us. We just look at things like Tom, right, because he's got a lot of fame and we all know who he is. And we hold that in a different spot, right? But that's not always true related to value and walking this out. So there's actually a lot to this, but I knew when I heard my dad tell that story about my Uncle Don, and of course I heard it from a distance. I heard, well, Don's went and looked at another house today and 50 people were there and it didn't work out, and how difficult that was, and then how everything just click. And then I knew that it was time to talk about this, to recognize really and honor what her calling is and her favor and these sorts of things, and to understand this. In the first meeting, we talked about, your calling can be, it doesn't have to be, some people think, oh, well, calling means, I've got to do this significant thing. Well, maybe the significant thing in your life is really simple. I used John's example in the first meeting. So John moved from Louisiana to Dallas. So, we also, in our Western culture, we think it's all about us. And we really miss the fact that calling is about people. So the people can be about your posterity, your children. But you say, well, I don't have any kids. Well, your calling is about other people too. And it's generational. So John moved from Louisiana to Dallas. And now he's part of our team here and has been for many years. Maybe one of John's daughters, maybe her calling is connected to some sort of opportunity that she needed to be here in Dallas to seize an opportunity for her calling in her life, or maybe her, you know what I'm saying? And maybe John's calling was simply stewarding the move of his family from Louisiana to Dallas and being a great dad and being a part of our team here. Maybe that's John's calling. Maybe that is, the solution that he was supposed to provide was going from Louisiana to Dallas and doing that well, and then being a good dad. It can be as simple as that. It's not complicated. But what we want to be is we want to be the guy who's flying through the air, who's wearing his calling, and then knows what all the gear does. And if you will start the journey, and of course you do this by relationship. You talk to the people around you. You say, hey, I do want to walk in my calling, because there's lots of people, guys, lots of people. I would say it's probably the majority in the first two groups where they do not engage their calling, or they don't have a clue about it. I would say the minority are the people who have a calling and understand the aspects about it. But that's where you want to be, because that provides the greatest purpose in life, because you know what you're breathing the air for and standing on planet Earth, and it just provides a lot of security and favor in your life. Any questions or comments or thoughts related to that? Okay. Have a great day.